It's Vault of Horror, volume number 1 from EC Comics. When I started, going through the stories and reading some of them, I realized that at least one or two of the stories in here were direct ripoffs of H.P. Lovecraft. What Al Feldstein and William Gaines would do is they would take stuff that writers had already written, change them around a little, change the title, and just plagiarize the hell out of writers. Fitting Punishment is one of the Lovecraft stories. You may know the story. I'm going to show it to you right now. This will kind of lay it out in the open. Now, this is from Wikipedia, and they're talking about Vault of Horror in a section called Influences and Adaptations. They may have called it ripoffs and plagiarisms. As it shows, you have a list of various stories. I just showed you Fitting Punishment, which was H.P. Lovecraft's In the Vault. All of these stories were from original authors like Ray Bradbury, Lovecraft, Oscar Wilde, even Clark Ashton Smith. What Gaines and Feldstein did is that they simply just took the existing stories, slightly altered them, changed names, of course, changed the title, and that was it. You have Robert Louis Stevenson's The Body Snatchers, which was altered and turned into The Doctor of Horror for issue number 13 of Vault of Horror. Island of Death in issue 13, which was Richard Connell's The Most Dangerous Game. Terror on the Moors, which was originally Clark Ashton Smith's The Nameless Offspring. Baby, It's Cold Inside. Issue number 17, originally Lovecraft's Cool Air. Voodoo Horror from issue number 17. They just lifted from Oscar Wilde's The Picture of Dorian Gray. They've got Robert Bloch in here. Ray Bradbury, as it says at the bottom. After their unauthorized adaptation of one of Ray Bradbury's stories in another magazine, another EC comic, Bradbury contacted EC about their plagiarism of his work. They reached an agreement for EC to do authorized versions of Bradbury's short fiction. Yeah, they were just ripping off Bradbury, and he caught it. So he was the guy that was like, hey, wait a second. These dudes are ripping off my stuff. He had to go basically threaten them with legal action. Then they eventually reached an agreement. Too bad for H.P. Lovecraft. Of course, he was dead. And some of these other writers, obviously, they, unless their estate happened to catch the ripoffs. There you go, folks. That's the EC way. They were pretty damn sleazy. This is Journey into Mystery, and this is the 1972 series. I'm just gonna go with issue number 1 here. And right off the bat, the great thing with this is that you have Journey into Mystery, issue number 1, Dig Me No Grave, adapted from the story by Robert E. Howard. The thing about Roy Thomas and Stan Lee is that they credited all of the writers, as you will see. They got permission. They went to Arkham House to get permission to adapt Lovecraft stories. They were upfront, honest publishers. That's all there is to it. They really, gave credit where credit was due. Issue number 4 is Haunter of the Dark, which is an H.P. Lovecraft adaptation. The Shadow from the Steeple, Robert Bloch. And I think it's written by Bloch, and it may be a continuation of The Haunter of the Dark. So as you can see, Journey into Mystery, they're doing legit adaptations of Weird Tales writers. It's Tower of Shadows, number 3. An adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's The Terrible Old Man, with art by Barry Windsor Smith. And if you look down here, I'm going to bring it in. Hopefully you can read this at the bottom. Well, you can see it's Stan Lee, editor, Roy Thomas, Barry Smith, artist, by special arrangement with Arkham House. So they actually went to Arkham House and they got the rights to do The Terrible Old Man, and they credited H.P. Lovecraft as the original author. That's how you do it, folks. Okay, unless you're sleazebags.